Live from the Javits Center in New York City, it's theCUBE, covering Inforum 2017. Brought to you by Infor.
Welcome back to theCUBE's coverage of Inforum 2017. I'm your host, Rebecca Knight, along with my co-host, Dave Vellante. We're joined by Dhiraj Shah. He is the CEO of Avaap. Thanks so much for joining us. You're a CUBE veteran, so
yes.
Welcome back, I should say.
Absolutely, not a rookie anymore.
Right. So Avaap is a major strategic partner with Infor. So just tell our viewers a little bit more about the relationship and where we are.
Absolutely. You know, Avaap's been a partner with Infor now for the last 6 years, and prior to that with Lawson. We've certainly come a long way. You know, it started 11 years ago as a single individual. Last year when we were here, we were here as a platinum sponsor, and the big announcement this year is we're a diamond sponsor, so it doesn't get larger, and had great stage presence. And one of the big announcements we had this year was go live with Infor's new Cloud Suite Financial. The first customer to go live on that, Palos Health, was actually an Avaap customer that we brought live in 9 months.
And they were mentioned in the keynote.
Yes, Roger was on main stage, gave a great presentation, and you know, what we centered our belief in is you have the enterprise software provider, which is Infor in this case, you have the system integrator, which is Avaap, and then you have the customer. For any successful outcome, you need all three of these to really partner and do well, and that's what was exhibited with Palos.
I'm always interested in companies that place bets on an ecosystem and a leader of that ecosystem. It is somewhat obscure, it certainly was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw this in the ServiceNow community, a hot company growing like crazy, and I saw early on companies like yours in their community said, we're going to make a bet, and they've done very well, they've succeeded wildly, been acquired by Accenture and CSC, so maybe great things ahead in your future, but take us back to the decision to bet on Infor. What led to that decision?
Absolutely, I mean, looking back is always great, right? Then you know the bets have paid off, but when you make them, it's not the same. Our business was, prior to 2012, when we made this decision, was centered around Lawson. We had some staff augmentation business, and we had a MicroStrategy BI business. And in 2011, Infor acquired Lawson. And when Infor acquired Lawson, there was a huge amount of apprehension in the customer base, because everybody was thinking, here comes the external team that's going to come and annihilate the customer base.
And the private equity cash suck out.
Yeah,
right?
So that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to listen to Charles and his executive team in one of their first meetings, and Charles was very clear in his vision. He said, 2 things I want to focus on. 1, build software that's easy to use, that's beautiful, and that's not upgraded every year. And the second thing was industry focus. Now 6 years ago, you look at the enterprise software platforms, SAP, Oracle, nobody had industry focus. It was the same piece of software, one size fits all. And Charles came in and said, industry specific software. So we bought into that vision, and we said, this is going to be a huge opportunity in the ecosystem, and fast forward 6 years. We were about 20 people at that time as an entire company. We have 25 people here at Inforum. More people just attending, and 450 consultants globally now.
Charles Phillips is a true software visionary, because if you go back, a decade plus ago, if you were an industry specialist, you were a VAR.
Yes.
And you weren't going to have a multi-billion-dollar valuation. That was not a way to, make the big dollars, right? And so, it is still was a sort of a somewhat risky bet.
It definitely was, because it seems we were much smaller back then, but still to shut down those businesses overnight, and I still have the letter that we wrote to our customers and our employees and said, we believe in this. And that belief has really catapulted both our organizations. It's really helped Infor, and it's helped Avaap to and that's one of the lessons I learned as an entrepreneur, that wonderful things happen when you focus and build really strong partnerships.
So that letter will someday be in a museum, I'm sure. But
oh, I think from your mouth to God's ears.
But let's talk about that easy to use, beautiful software that is transforming specific industries. Let's talk about retail.
Yes. Absolutely. So retail was a huge announcement last year when they announced they're going to go after Infor as a company and build a new vertical. We invested alongside them as their single largest partner to go and give support. What they were doing around retail is multiple things, because prior to this, what Infor had was the ERP platform, financials, human capital management. What they wanted to invest is rewrite the merchandising system, which is at the heart of a retailer. Not been done for the last 20 years. And they are rewriting that and made an announcement with the best retailer, Whole Foods. And that project kind of kicked off. The second piece they did was they filled in a gap with merchandise financial planning, assortment planning by buying a company called Predictix. So Avaap kind of went ahead of it, and we've started projects alongside them over the last year, and now we're independently going to market. So Payless, we just signed a contract to implement merchandise financial planning for them. And then the final leg to this will be the point of sales, which will be StarMount, which is another system that they acquired, and now the whole story around retail is coming in. Because as we hear, retail is really getting hurt, and there's a huge technology change happening in the marketplace.
Well, and then now does GT Nexus fit into that as well in terms of compressing the, if you're build to order kind of, somebody was given an example of a couch today, you order a couch from some retail store and it takes 12 weeks to deliver. We've all sort of been there. Does it fit into that equation?
It does, because there's a whole shipping, receiving, and the point of contacts through that kind of comes into the play there. And GT Nexus, as you saw on the stage today, the amount of traffic that's being used through GT Nexus, it's going to help a lot of the retailers from all their receiving and mobile supply chain functionality.
I mean, it's a real consumer frustration. You order something and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you're excited, and all of a sudden, weeks later, you get the notification, sorry, it's going to either be delayed or sorry, we can't deliver that. So that's just lost revenue. I mean, how many times does that happen?
And when you go to a website, it's a different order. When you go to a mobile page, it's a different order. When you go into the store, it's a different order. So bringing all of that together for their single back office user experience is really what is going to transform the user experience, to your point.
So speaking about another industry or user experience, and this is maybe more important than buying a couch, let's say your health. So then this is another way in which Infor and Avaap are really transforming the way we shop for medical care. So give us an example of what you're doing.
Absolutely, we're very passionate about healthcare. So healthcare is our largest vertical by size. So about 75% of our business is in healthcare. And Infor has a large presence. 2/3 of the hospitals in the nation use Infor for their ERP software. I'll give a simple example. We were talking retail earlier. When you go into a retail store and you want to buy a piece of clothing, you know what it's going to cost you to purchase that. And the store knows what their cost is for that, because everything's coming from a single system. In hospitals' case, there are two key systems. We have EHR, which is the electronic medical system, and you have your ERP, which is your back office system. Your revenue comes from your EHR system, which is typically an Epic or a Cerner. And your cost information comes from your Lawson system, which is 75% of the time Infor. They don't talk to each other. Now, the acquisition of Burst gives a tremendous opportunity for us to connect the two systems together, bring that data forward so the hospital operators know at the time of admission and checkout what was the revenue and what was the cost, so they could do margin analysis.
So that you can see how that benefits the hospital, but it also benefits the customer.
In the end of the day,
patient.
Absolutely, because patient outcome is what's at the heart of all the changes that we're driving towards. And when there's a lot, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars that hospitals are burning in inefficient systems right now. And if that's saved, where is that going to go? Towards better care. And that's where dollars need to be focused, not in holes that need to be plugged in technology.
So Dhiraj, explain where Avaap specifically adds value. Where do you pick up from the technology that Infor provides?
Absolutely. So prior to a year ago, our focus was just on the Infor side of the platform with ERP. And a year ago, we acquired a company called Falcon Consulting, best in class, top category leader for revenue cycle, to bring in Epic expertise. So now we have both the EHR expertise and the ERP expertise. And in fact, this was our first foray outside of Infor. And we got permissions from the Infor executive team because this we saw as a strategic way to service the entire healthcare ecosystem. And that's really helped us get knowledge from both sides to now build the integration platform to service.
And so is it the full life cycle of plan, design, implement, and manage? I mean, you start with strategy and
Yes, so we are starting with the Office of the CIO and the CFO and organizational readiness and talking about strategy consulting, vendor selection, ERP, and once we get into the actual implementation cycle, that's where we do the implementation of the ERP or the EHR. Once implementation is done, the third piece of it will be optimization, because most systems that implement are not optimized. They're on the same archaic system that were implemented many, many years ago. And then the final piece to that is continued support. As technology is evolving so fast, you heard Charles speak about so many new technology, it's hard for customers to keep up. So we do outsource application managed service to help support their...
So talk us a little bit more about the whole micro-vertical strategy. We're interested in, obviously it's real.
Yes, absolutely.
But what is the impact to you as a partner and your customers?
That was a new concept for us, because we thought, okay, vertical, great. And then Charles came and said, no, vertical's not enough, it's micro-vertical. So one of our businesses is manufacturing. So you take the business of process manufacturing, the process manufacturing for your brewer versus your baker versus your food distributor, very different. So we then started taking Infor's product and started building applications in the presentation layer that are adapted for those industries. So Cloud Suite Food and Beverage has a variation. So Old Neighborhood Foods is one of our top customers, and they're one of the largest supplier of porks in the Northeast. So how do everything that goes behind the making of the sausage and all the recipes, all of that is very different in a business than Albertsons that got a bakery that were implementing the same product.
And you add that value? Is that right?
Yes, that's
so that's custom code that you write, or?
No, these are using Infor's tools, because Infor has presentation layer tools that we use to build micro-vertical specification. Reporting, analytics, all of those are driven for those industries.
So you're composing the tooling.
Correct.
Essentially is what you're doing. And so is there any application development, any low code, or is it all no code?
Zero code on the application side, because that's, with being in the cloud, that's one of the controls that come in. So the systems of the 70s were all customized in the application layer. And then every time there was an upgrade, you would have to go through a huge exercise to retrofit them. All of that goes away, because with the cloud, you don't have control of the application layer. So all these tools that I'm talking about reside in the presentation layer.
Okay, so do you run into situations though where you say, oh wow, it would be nice if I had this custom modification, and what happens in that situation? You go back to Infor and ask them for it, or do you say to those guys, hey, can you extend your platform to give me a low-code development capability, or some kind of PaaS layer that
That's a very good question, and that's a real-world problem that our delivery team faces, and we had to mature ourselves to. I would say a majority of the case, 80 to 90% of the case, we go back to the customer to have a conversation with them to adjust their process. Most 8 out of 10 times, it's a customer that doesn't want to change the process,
of course.
And that's why they want the software to fit that. And we've learned through the change management mechanisms to have educated conversations with our customers, because it's a lot more painful to change the software than to do that. In the 2 out of 10 cases, there are exceptions of building plugins or going to Infor. So one of the things with our partnership with Infor, we actually have a direct line with their product development team, and if there is a change the customer is requesting that others would benefit from, it quickly gets into their queue and then is part of the product set.
Well, that's interesting. That's a whole nother line of questioning now, because you think about the old days of technology, technology was so mysterious, but the process you knew.
Yes.
Right, and today it's changing. The technology's pretty much demystified. Everybody has AI, right? Yeah. But it's the process that becomes somewhat unknown. Think about IoT and the edge, and these are all just sort of Wild West, processes.
Most often overlooked cause for project failures is change management and organizational readiness. And that's the part we lead in with to ensure organizations understand the investment they're making in ERP is not just getting a vendor to come in and do this plug and play, but to have their organization adapt to what the technology really is best suited for.
That's great. Well, Dhiraj, thank you so much for joining us here on theCUBE. It's been a fun conversation.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Enlightening even to Dave.
Absolutely, yeah. Always learn.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We'll have more from theCUBE at Inforum 2017 in a bit.
Thank you, all right.